Look, is Lamar Jackson going to play this week? Yesterday, it felt like there was no chance in hell he was going to play. Today, Ian Rappaport says that Lamar Jackson's going to try to go this week. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know as a gamesmanship. There's some concerns that I have about facing this Ravens offense, which is still one of the top scoring offenses in the league, despite people saying that Lamar Jackson doesn't quite look himself. They do some things that can cause problems for the Texans with or without Lamar Jackson, because they caused some problems for the Texans even with the Tennessee Titans last week. And it's when you hear people say that offenses can use the Texans' aggressiveness against them, or they can turn their aggression against them, I just want to show and explain exactly what that means. And it's on two levels. One, I get concerned just for the Texans' defense and how they perform, but as a defensive lineman, I get agita. My stomach gets knotted up because teams can do some things that make it really, really difficult for defensive tackles specifically. And every clip I show you today is something that definitely happened to me multiple times in my career. I'm not even going to call guys out by names. But to go back to the Ravens game last year, it's not just the option game. It's not just, that whole dynamic that flummoxed the Texans. It's the whams, the traps, the confusion that it causes. Watch the right defensive tackle here where you're going to see, hey, look at that, clear path to the running back. No. Wham block. Patrick Ricard, who's injured at least, that's another injury that would matter in this game. The fullback, why do they call it a wham block? I don't think it's an acronym for anything. The way I always understood it was that you're running, you think look, I'm free into the backfield. Wham! It's an onomatopoeia block. Wham! So that's a wham block. And it causes all kinds of confusion when guys start realizing, oh, I got whammed. Now I got to have my head on a swivel all the time for all kinds of things. Same play same game last year. Christmas, remember it? Merry Christmas, everybody. It starts turning into things like this where, and you're going to see an example of this exact same play from the Titans last week, but right defensive tackle, he's playing right here. He feels like, okay, the guard's going this way, might be zone run. I'm going to play this tackle. Okay, no, maybe it's a fold block and the tackle's blocking down on me. No, guard's kicking you out. That's not even a wham block, but it's all the misdirection and confusion that comes with all of this. So if we go to last week, some of the things that the Titans did actually do well. This is a good Texans play here. And this is going to be, look, the Texans have a five-man defensive bear front here. Don't worry about that. Just the three technique is playing the way that they coach them to play. This works out well on this play. Everybody's playing aggressively upfield. Horton forces the ball back. EJ Speed comes in, makes a nice play. Awesome, right? The Texans are very aggressive as defensive linemen. They get upfield. They want to get into the backfield. As a defensive lineman, I was always jealous of schemes like this because on the surface of it, you think, oh, yeah, I just get to run free and do whatever I want, penetrate in the backfield. There's a couple catches to it. You got to be aware for things like this, like when the guard, so we're watching the left defensive tackle, guard pulls, blocks down on him, and like ideally Settle would have had his hands into that tackle, so the left defensive tackle we're watching here, but he isn't able to, and he gets wiped down, and you end up getting, this was also, okay, a whole nother issue, but one missed tackle, two missed tackles, three missed tackles, and finally they got him down. That's a whole nother issue. I think that's actually been cleaned up in recent days, but you saw that look where you saw the offensive guard pulling. This time, similar look, right? So Dylan Horton might be thinking, okay, I got to play this tackle, and nope. Guard's coming underneath. Boom. And it's these kinds of dilemmas they put you in that in a lot of schemes, if they call it more read and react, the defensive linemen are playing more. They don't penetrate into the backfield as deeply, and it's a lot easier to diagnose that. Like in a lot of schemes that I played in, if I was playing it's called the 4-eye technique right there by Dylan Horton, you'd get your hands into the tackle, and then immediately you look back for that offensive guard. But because Horton's penetrating upfield, it's a beat late, and he recognizes it and realizes that he's just gotten deep upfield. And then meanwhile, on the other side of it, again, penetrating defensive linemen, in a read and react scheme, this defensive tackle Tim Settle might have gotten his hands into the center and pressed him backwards to try to constrict that hole, but he's jetting upfield and he just gets washed, and that's a whole lot of green grass for Azeez Al-Shaair to try to get a hold of. And I know it doesn't look like that much from the end zone copy, but that one goes for like 5 or 6 yards. And there's some things that you can do to counteract this. So I'm not all doom and gloom here. If we watch the defensive tackle here, and this goes back to something that Pete Carroll would do a lot back in the day when he had guys that were really penetrating. You want a guy that can play more head up on the offensive guard, and he can make up for some of the penetrating action of other guys by just getting his hands dead center and then basically two-gapping. And he does a really good job there. Now, it helps that there's a blitz coming off the left side. So Jalen Petre's sneaking in from our right there. But this is the kind of stuff the Texans have done, and they've done it in the past to counteract some of this stuff. And there's a little bit of give and take. Sometimes it's just dumb luck when it does work and when it doesn't. You hope that the tackles for a loss and everything else make up for it over the course of a game. Like, you're going to get burned sometimes. Here's another example. Is this the same one? This is another example of, I think this is Foley Fatukasi. So Foley Fatukasi's playing that 2 technique, and he goes right up. Instead of trying to jet through the gap, he just bulldozes Skoranek back. This isn't a run play, but that's kind of what you're looking for, and ends up, I can't tell if he tipped that or not. I'm going to give him the credit for the tip. Another example of the 2 technique working out well is Tommy Togiai here. And again, this is a pass play, but Togiai, because he's at the line of scrimmage and not jetting upfield, doesn't bite on the screen because he can't bite on the screen. And by the time the guard releases him, right there, whenever a guard throws you like that, you're like, oh, crap, it's screen. See, he doesn't even look up at the quarterback. He knows immediately right there, this is a screen. Gets out, and then ends up making a tackle for like 1 or 2 yards on this play, if I remember, maybe no gain. And it all kind of starts with sometimes selectively playing more conservatively. That's the big test, because some of those plays that the Ravens ran, it's exactly what we see. I think this next one, yeah. Mario, I said I wasn't going to say names. Trust me, this has happened to me before. 77 flashes Mario Edwards here. Mario wants to get his hands to him, but then the guard disappears. So he's thinking, okay, your classic rules are read the inside triangle. He should remember with the backfield. So he's thinking he's getting counter or something. And there you go. Wham! Onomatopoeia block. Boom. Oh, it sucks. It sucks. It's so hard. I'm not saying it sucks by Mario Edwards. It's just so hard to figure out. So this is something that you saw last year as an issue with the Ravens. The Ravens do this type of stuff really well. Derrick Henry hasn't been himself over these last 3 games. He's fumbled 3 times this year. But this is a very real concern. Some of it also just does come down to muscle memory and working the reads and understanding where your threats are in the formation. But really good offenses, and the Ravens are a much better offense with or without Lamar Jackson than the Tennessee Titans are right now. The Texans have gotten better at handling this over the course of D'Amico's 2+ years here, but you got to be really dialed in, because this is, if Lamar Jackson doesn't play, this is the kind of stuff that the Ravens are going to really major in, and they're going to try to turn it into an old school, hey, Derrick Henry is the engine that drives this vehicle. Cooper Rush will do whatever the hell it is that Cooper Rush does, but don't sleep on this. It's definitely something that teams try to exploit. Let's see. I'm with you as explanation. Okay, you guys are having a discussion about something else. Oh, okay. Oh, so this is thank you. It's a compliment about me and my explanations. Thanks, Ro. Appreciate it. Daniel, I'm going to tell you something. O-line play is more complicated than I will ever really understand. I appreciate Seth breaking this down. It's more complicated than I'll ever understand. I like to take shots at offensive linemen. Yes, I admit to it. It's complicated, man. And some of the stuff that these guys can process in pass protection and everything when they're doing it well is really it's really impressive. It's almost the guys that can manage their anxiety under pressure are that's a big part of being a good offensive lineman, because it's a lot. Ravens are Ravens. They can be dangerous even when weakened. Yeah, Kasia, I think we'd have a hard time finding somebody that's cocky out. Yeah, and I had mentioned this at King Colby. I don't know if you were joined later or not, but yeah, Ricard's out as well. But as we saw, these wham blocks, they can come from tight ends, fullbacks, like they can come from multiple different people. Sometimes they can come from a wide receiver, and you got to have your head on a swivel. As a defensive tackle, this was one of my, I was glad that in situations like this, I was pretty good at reading whams and everything, but it was specifically because I was a slow dude on a defense where I was read and react, and I was moving more laterally along the line of scrimmage. The guys that jet upfield, this is the one thing that's the burr in your shoe when it comes to playing a fun, aggressive upfield defense like this, is that you got to figure out it's like when you're walking out the door and in your mind you're like, all right, I got a plan of what I'm going to do. And then just as you're walking out the door, your wife says, hey, did you pay the gas bill? And you think, no, I didn't. Wham block from the spouse. It's a spousal wham block. Going to listen to D'Amico Ryan's press conference later on. I'm very intrigued about, like, Ian Rappaport reports that, no, Lamar Jackson's going to try to play this week. That contradicts somewhat the report that we got yesterday. How much of this is gamesmanship? I don't know. But, like, D'Amico's going to have to prepare for the zone reads. He's going to have to prepare for the Lamar Jackson game. And just trust that, man, all right, not to take Cooper Rush lightly whatsoever. This is a defense that, 2 years ago got destroyed by Zach Wilson. Last year, any number of various letdowns by any team, not just the Texans. Any given Sunday, any backup quarterback can ruin your Sunday. So no, I will not sleep on these Ravens. Never.